gonna need a bigger table.
Ever feel like your 3D printer just isn't big enough? Or maybe you want to print one of these big droids. Well, hold on to your hats because today we're unboxing a beast right after this.
Welcome to the show that sets your mind free. Tech and gadgets, 3D surprise. Captain Creativity. Honesty inside to everybody. With David's guiding light, inventions spark and take their flight.
Ahoy, makers and innovators! Welcome to another episode of Captain Creativity. I am your host, David Merel, and today we are setting sail on another unboxing adventure, the Sovol / Comgrow T500. This thing is a beast. It is by far the largest unboxing I have done. It is 500 by 500 by 500 millimeter build size. It is huge. I can't even figure out where I'm gonna put this going forward. But that's my problem. Today we're gonna focus on unboxing it, setting it up, seeing what the calibration process is, and see, is this just a newer version of an old CR10 from Creality, which used to sport the same build size, or does it have some new innovations and features that we expect from modern day 3D printers, but at a larger build size? So we're gonna find out all of this today. And all right, let's get started. Now, just to be aware, they recommend that 2 people should lift this. And I am going to tell you that that is absolutely the case. Okay? Okay, so we have the manual. We have here a box full of screws, parts, things like that, as you can see. Power cord. Hey, look at that. 1 kilogram roll of PLA. Ooh, look at that. Wow. Look at the size of that screen. Look at that. That's huge. Look at it compared to my head. Look how big that is. It is phenomenally huge. That's a big screen. Something's in here. Oh, okay. The braces for the gantry. Ooh, wow, look at that. Steel. Let's see how we're going to take this out. Oh, my Lord. Okay, I'm gonna just put that down for the time being. Hey, look at that, it just stands upright. Good. Hey, oh, holy mother of God. This is, I feel like the scene from Indiana Jones when they opened up the Ark of the Covenant. Only my face isn't melting off. Okay. I wish I had somebody help me with this. Okay. Wow. That is freaking huge. That is enormous. Look at the size of this thing. That is crazy. Holy cow. Look how big this is. This is enormous. This is insane. The first thing we're gonna do is take the gantry and we're going to slide it in over here. You could see how it just goes right in. And there's really no give. So you can kind of just leave it there. We have unboxed everything. We set up all the screws, and it's time for us to install these supports for the gantry. But before we do this, we have to actually go ahead and put in screws here, 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 basically on the base. We're gonna secure the gantry to the base, and I'm gonna show you details. And you're gonna take these, this is the weird part, it says step 7, and yet this is step 1. So that's a little bit weird, and maybe if you get a newer version of this, they've like fixed this, but Basically, step 7, according to this, is step 1, because it says it right over here. Here's step 1, and it goes ahead and says we are going to use the M5 by 35 screws and put them in. And we're going to put them in here and here, and as I mentioned, here and there. So let's get going. All right, so we're going to put that in like so. And if I'm not mistaken, I was under the impression that these go in at an angle, but maybe not. Maybe that was an earlier version. And they come with all the necessary wrenches that you need. Obviously, it could go a lot faster if you have an electric one, but I'm just gonna go with what they gave me. Now it's time to install these back support bases behind the gantry. And we're going to put one right over here and one right over here. We are going to go ahead now and we're going to install the M5 by 18 screws. And we're going to put them here, 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 and here, as well as here, 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 and there. And don't tighten it too much until you get everything in, because you should kind of leave them a little loose before the final tighten, because you want to kind of put one up here, one up here, one up here, one up here, and then you start tightening it. That's my recommendation. Okay, so we're now installing the cable drag chain, and I want to show you a close-up of exactly how you're going to line it up. First, spread it out along the x-axis here, and you'll notice that underneath there are 2 screws here and here, and that's going to correspond to the holes that they've left out there for you. One's going to go right over here, and then one's going to stabilize it over there. So we're going to now take the M3 by 6 screws and screw those in. And now it's time to move on to putting in another 2 screws at the top over here, okay? And so this chain is supposed to go up and over like so. And we're gonna put the screws here. It looks like there should be possibly 3 screws that go in there. Yet, it only calls for 2. All right, so we'll put in 2 screws. There is a little notch over here, and that notch is gonna go like this. See, right in here. And the notch is gonna line up with the hole for the notch. Let's see if I can show you that. And you just snap that in, and it is good to go. Okay, so now we have to go ahead and install this cable clamp, just like this, with M3 30 screws, as you can see here, and it's gonna go right on the side, which is over here. So we're gonna basically put this on like so, and then you're gonna screw those in with the M330s, okay? Okay, and don't pinch the cable. Make sure there's actually a little bit of a lip in here, and that's exactly where the cable's supposed to go. So just make sure the cable is in that lip, in that little nook that it has. We're gonna go ahead now and put on this bracket. You're gonna end up putting on this bracket first, and you're gonna see that the hole should be going over the speaker, or the vent. And then we're gonna go ahead and put on the M4 by 10 millimeter screws. We have 3 of them, and we are going to put them in. So, and, okay. I have to tell you, this thing is like, it's like a mini tablet. Look at this. This is crazy. They even have a dedicated Ethernet jack, which is, that's not common. Okay, so we're now going to install the screen using the N5 by 10 screws. And as you can see over here, they're gonna go here and here. Okay, so it's now time to put on our spool holder over here, as you can see. And we're gonna put that right on top of here. And so if we take a look, you'll notice that over here, there are holes for it. And we are going to angle that inwards with the roll facing the middle part of the gantry. And we're gonna be putting in here those 2 screws that we had from earlier. So we're gonna put in those M5 by 18 screws up here. Okay, so there you go. So now it's time to start connecting up all of our wires. And we're gonna start here on the side with our X limit switch. We're gonna connect that one, and that's an easy, just pop it right in, just like that. Now, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna also plug in the X motor. All right, so now the X motor is plugged in. The X limit switch is plugged in. Now it's time to plug in the Z1 and the Z2 motors. So let's begin with this one. Okay, make sure it's nice and in. Perfect. Right there. Okay, so there it is. Same idea. Here's the other plug. Plug that in. Very good. All right, so now we have those 2 Z motors plugged up. Okay, so very, very important. We need to now make sure that this is not set to 230 volt. If you're in the United States, you must switch this to 115. Do you see that? And you'll know, because if you look at it over here and you do not see it say, if you do not see it say 115, 115, then you are not rated for plugging this in the United States. So make sure you see 115. And if it says 230, just flip it over, okay? Okay, so now we're going to connect the wires onto the screen. And what they say here is that you're supposed to plug one into the barrel connector right over there. And then they say you could choose any of the 3 USB ports. So I'm just gonna plug it into the one that looks like USB 3.0. So I'm gonna plug it right there. And they say any 3, so dealer's choice. So that's what I'm gonna choose. Now basically there is the extruder over here, and it, as you can see, it's kind of like wiggling. And I have to tell you, I can't imagine that this is the way it's meant to be. So I would imagine that you kind of want this to be nice and sturdy, and so that the filament could come down. And so what I'm going to try to attempt to do here is just see what would happen if I tighten this and if it has any, nope. All right, so they really just want this to kind of be free like that. All right, I'll leave it that way. So, so adjusting this isn't gonna make it tighter. You're gonna just leave it like that. If I'm wrong, that's what the comments are for. So please definitely tell me. But the next step is to also include the accelerometer. Now, the accelerometer, if I had to guess, I would like to think that that has a lot to do with input shaping. And I would definitely see a need to the accelerometer. I'm not exactly sure why it would even be something that's optional, because, you know, modern day 3D printers all seem to have input shaping. And again, I could be wrong, but as you can see here, they tell you that you can mount the accelerometer on the x-axis as well as on the y-axis, but I think you have to take it from one place to another, or you choose the location. I don't know if you could see that, but as you can see, there's an x-axis and a y-axis, and they tell you either you're going to put it up here or you're going to put it down there, or both. I don't know. So love to hear some comments on that one. But they're saying that this is going to go into this direction where the y is actually pointing downwards and x is on the left and z is on the right. and that is the orientation, and you would plug it in right over here. So we're going to do that with the M3 by 16 screws, and we should still hopefully have some left over. We do. Actually, not left over, we never use them. So we're going to put in those 2 screws here and here. And let's go ahead and load those up. All right, so here we are installing the accelerometer. As I mentioned, I believe it's has something to do with input shaping. And once it's installed, there is a wire that it's supposed to be connected to something. Essentially, to connect the accelerometer, it's not going to be something you're going to leave permanently. Well, you can leave the accelerometer there for now, unless they are going to direct you. We'll check it out. Maybe they're going to direct us that we're going to do it first on the X and then on the Y. But there's definitely a port on the top of the screen here, which definitely looks like it takes this wire over here, which it does. And then the other end would go into your accelerometer. I have a very hard time believing that this is meant to stay here through and through. I just don't see that being very practical. Yeah, I just don't see this being very practical. And I think that it's meant for like a one time when you're ready to do that resonance test. If that's what it is. Again, I'm not sure what they mean by accelerometer. I'm having a feeling that it has to do with input shaping. But I don't see this going on permanently. Even though theoretically you kind of, I mean, you could let it go. It just, you would have to kind of clip it in such a manner. But you know what? We're going to leave this where it is for right now. I'm not going to play with it right now. And we're going to see later if there's a better means to connecting it. Another thing I found is I didn't find a lot of places to use these tie wraps. And I would love to get your thoughts about that, because I have just no idea where I'm going to be putting these things. I mean, it looks like everything is relatively all hooked up. I really don't see any reason why any of this would break. I can't do too much on this side. I think the only place I actually put a tie wrap was right over here. I don't know if you could see that, but right over here I put in a tie wrap. That was like the only place, because I had to let this be free as it goes up the Z axis. So yeah, so I think we're done here, and I think it's time to start this guy up and start doing the calibration and go from there. So let's get started. Okay, it's time to begin. Let's turn this guy on. I always get so nervous when I turn these things on for the first time. I'm always like double checking. Did I put all my wires in? Did I put my connectors in? But I think it's time. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and select my language. I have time zone, UTC and UTC. That's interesting. I don't know. All right, I'm in America. Oh, okay, that's good. All right, we're going to connect to the Wi-Fi. Okay, so now I'm going to connect the Wi-Fi. Okay, it looks like we're connected. All right, so I guess we hit the back button here, and we go next. Okay, so now it says, to achieve the best printing work, please follow the steps below to calibrate the machine. Step 1, operation Z calibration setting offset. So they want you to calibrate the Z offset. Step 2 is the bed level to adjust the flatness of the bed. And then step 3 is to operate the bed mesh automatic leveling. And then to finish and start your unlimited creativity. Okay, sounds good. Let's do those things. So now it's time to do homing. So we're going to go homing, and we're going to do the Z-tilt. It's now time to, wow, we're going to actually use a piece of paper. Okay, so not thrilled about this because I felt like we should have been past this by now. I feel like we shouldn't be. All right, so I'm going to just tear out a piece of paper from the booklet. Hopefully this is a good enough piece of paper. And we are going to calibrate. Now, we're doing this the old school way. So before the days of Bamboo Lab and the 3D printing revolution, we used to use paper to calibrate our Z offset. And I know for those of you who are experienced 3D printers, you're probably looking at this right now, rolling your eyes and saying, I can't believe we're calibrating with paper again. But I guess we are, so let's go. So we're gonna hit start. And okay, it's moving. Not exactly sure what it's gonna do now. Okay. So, oh God, please don't break the bed. Please don't break the bed. Oh no. Oh, thank God. Okay, so it looks like it's doing some level of probing here, but I guess they want you to kind of probe it, they kind of want you to take it a little bit further for better quality, and I guess I don't blame them for that, but I just feel like we don't need to be doing this anymore. So okay, let's go ahead. We'll put this under, and if you look at the screen here, and now at this point we are going to lower the nozzle, and we can decide over here how far we want to lower it. Do we want to lower it by 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters? So if you go by 1 millimeter, we're going to lower the nozzle. Okay, lower it again, and you really have to take a peek as you're doing it. Okay, and I want to show you what's happening here. I'm going to see if I could give you a close-up of this while I'm doing it. And so what we're doing is we're lowering this a millimeter at a time, but at some point we don't want this, we want it to kind of not scratch, not rip the paper, but we kind of want there to be some resistance on the paper. And so as you're getting a little bit further down, we're going to want to go ahead and we're going to, and by the way, I'm so sorry for the reflection here in the screen. If you're getting any of my reflection, I know my crazy lights, I gotta get better lighting in here, but bear with me, I'm working on it. Okay, so I'm gonna now go a 0.5 millimeter. And so I'm gonna lower it, still nothing. I mean, still pretty free. Okay, now I can't move it. So that's no good. So I gotta raise it. Now I can move it. So now we should start working by 0.1 millimeter. And we should get it to the point where we lower it, where it's really just kind of pulling on the paper, kind of like this. This is actually perfect. I feel the resistance. But it's not enough to hold it in place, but I definitely, this is perfect. This is where I need it. And that's how you do paper test. So now I save it, and I say, okay, Clipper will reboot. Okay, so there you go. Now that we did the Z calibration in its entirety, it's now time for us to do bed meshing. And now comes the bed mesh. So we're going to click on more on the home page, which we just did, and we're going to go to bed mesh right here on the top. And now we're going to go ahead and hit calibrate, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And we hit calibrate. And now you'll see over here, now you're going to see over here how it starts to calibrate. And it's going to start detecting different portions of the bed to, kind of compensate for any minor inaccuracies in the level of the plate. I definitely could tell you it's not doing as many calibration points as I've seen other printers do on even smaller beds. So, I guess it's okay. I feel like it just, probably would do better with more calibration points, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we are now done. And if we take a look at the screen, we could see that it says they want to save the configuration. And you can actually see for 2 seconds there, you were able to see what the bed looked like. You certainly could go back to it and view it if you want. Obviously, this means that there's more of an issue in the top, bottom, and there are no means of adjusting the bed, so I guess there's nothing you can do about it. You just gotta, okay, great. Unless maybe you can screw it in a little tighter. Maybe you could. Maybe there is a way that you could actually screw in over here. I'll look at that down the road, but there are screws here, and I guess there could be a way to kind of tighten it and see if that actually ends up helping the situation or not. But I'm just going to go ahead one more time. I'm just going to clear this profile right now. I'm going to delete it and continue. And this time around, I am going to, whoops, let's just hit calibrate, and it will probably create a default one for us. And I've also learned that it's 25 points that it's calibrating on right now. Okay, so let's start printing out, I guess, a Benchy or some kind of a test print, right? And to do that, I'm not going to put on one of these like mega spools. I'm not ready to do that just as of yet, but I am going to start making some really big things. But I thought I would start by trying out some of this new filament. Jayo sent me these a new wave of Silk PLA Plus rainbow filament. And I love working with PLA Plus. And so this is Silk PLA Plus, and I figured we can use that for the Benchy, because I know that they sent me PLA, but I really don't like working with PLA by itself. I think PLA Plus has all those benefits and none of the weaknesses of PLA. So I want to use PLA Plus. And so we're gonna try it with this and see how it goes. So it says the print temperature is 205 to 215 Celsius, and the print temperature for 100 to 200 millimeters per second is 215 to 235. Oh, okay, right. So it can handle high-speed printing. Okay, so we're going to cut the filament, and we're going to go ahead and load it up here. Okay, and we're going to bring it right down to the extruder over here. Okay, and we're going to send it into the run out filament sensor. I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay, and I'm going to hit load. Oh, that does pull it. Oh, wow. That's great. It really does load it. Plug it in. And I have to imagine that there's got to be a file on this thumb drive that they included. So let's go print. Good. Benchy. Yes. Print. All right. Yes. Yes. We have liftoff. Oh, yes. Now let's see if it actually prints. Okay, so let's see what it does. I mean, does it go straight to printing? Is it going to do some like pre-calibration component? I do not know. In looking at the screen, it doesn't give us any clues here. It literally just says printing. So I think here it was just kind of looking at the temperature. But again, I think the temperature is not acceptable at 200 degrees. So I am going to go to settings, change the temperature, and go to the extruder. And I'm going to do 215 because I don't think that that is an acceptable temperature. So let's see. Now, I mean, I saw it was already printing at 200, but, and maybe it's going more slowly. It's right now printing at 40 millimeters per second, so not super fast. It's at its 100% right now. Now 50, 90 millimeters per second, 100 millimeters per second. So it definitely is kind of adjusting, but I really felt that. Oh, shoot. One thing I didn't realize. Oh, no. You know what? We're going to see what happens. I did not use a glue stick on here, and people have reported that if you got the earlier version of the Comgrow, it sticks on so badly that it rips off part of the plate. So first of all, I never remove prints when the bed is hot. I think that's one problem that you should never do that. Um, but I guess we'll see. I mean, if it comes off, it comes off. I'm hoping it's going to come off, and I'm going to let the thing cool down. Okay. I think I would have liked to have seen a profile with PLA plus, and I also kind of found it interesting, and I guess maybe Clipper somehow compensates for this, but usually when you do these bed leveling, I kind of feel like they turn on the temperature first and then they bed level because the bed plate expands. And I love to get your thoughts on that because I'm not exactly sure how you're going to get a good meshing when the surface of the bed is not heated. And I get you essentially you're getting false readings at that point. So I'm very curious to see what you guys what your thoughts are on this, and leave them in the comments below. Okay, so we're done. Um, and the bed is getting there. A little bit nervous to, let's see if I could. Nope, no, I am really nervous about about detaching this. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm not ripping my bed like everybody else who did who did this. It's quite possible I got one of the early ones and I don't want to rip that. So I'm not doing it. It's cooled down a little bit more. I now have the guts to take it off. I didn't rip it. Thank God. This actually is pretty good. All right, let's take a close up and let's do a comparison between this. So it took about 36 minutes. And, you know, again, these are optimized benchies for the printer, right? Like, so they manipulate the G code to squeeze out the best benchy, right? So comparably, right, if we went to a bamboo lab benchy, and I'm not talking about the ludicrous or the speed benchy, I'm talking about their regular benchy, they fall in around 19 to 21 minutes on the bamboos. So, 36 to 19, or, it's not terrible. But again, this is not a Core XY. You're getting this for the size and improvements in speed, as well as bed leveling, and it has clipper on it, which is really cool. So, all right, let's take a look at this. Let's do a more of an analysis on this benchy. Okay, so take a look at that. Hopefully you could see it. Yeah, take a look. So yeah, a little bit of stringing. Not too bad. You could always clear that out. That's nothing. Layer lines are pretty good. I mean, obviously, you can see very minor imperfections. Um, Overall, definitely not bad. Definitely some imperfections here on the tube. Bottom looks pretty good. I would definitely say this is a good benchy. This is a good benchy. I want to show you now the comparison of this to a bamboo benchy. Here's a bamboo A1 benchy. Compare to this. So you could kind of take a look and you could see, if anything, this actually has less of an imperfection over here by the front than here. Now, granted, there could have been some dryness, different filament. There could have been different things, but definitely less stringing on the bamboo. But again, I'm never bothered by stringing because it doesn't seem to really affect the print. I could just take the stringing off, which is always not a problem. See, there it is. It's pretty good. And I want to now show you, I just did a P1P benchy. That's coming out right now. I'm going to compare that P1P. And again, it's not fair to compare it to Core XY benchy, but I just want to show you a P1P now. Okay, so the pink one over here is from a P1P. And I'm going to now show you the purple is from the Comgrow T500. So you could definitely see more perfection in the layers. And these transitions here, this is part of the Jayo different color rainbow filament that they have. So that's why there's different colors here. You definitely have a smoother finish, but that's to be expected. That's to be expected. But when you compare them side by side, the differences are not enormous. Certainly not enormous enough that I would say that, oh, this is good. I mean, this is excellent, but this is good to very good. So I'm actually very happy with this. It is definitely a good print. And like I said, I wanted to give a test using the same filament just on different printers, just to kind of give you a basis of comparison. So there you go. Okay. So what are my thoughts about this? Well, I'm happy with the purchase. The printer goes for about just under $800 on Sovol's website. And I have to tell you, for 500 by 500 by 500 for that price, it's pretty good. It's a great deal. You get a lot of bang out of your buck. And I was pretty happy with the prints that I did do. I'm a little weary about the plate. I'm going to definitely be exploring some other plates in the future, like a PEI textured, and see if it's possible to go with that. I'm going to see if maybe, did I get the older one? Is the newer one better? So I'm going to definitely do a follow-up video on this printer. I will say that according to their website, they claim that this goes up to 500 millimeters per second. Now, come on. Like, I don't even get that. I mean, I don't get more than 300 on my P1 series and my A1 series. I mean, that's a ridiculous speed, 500 millimeters per second. But listen, I'm gonna try it out. Definitely gonna do a follow-up video because I'm curious if I can get this thing up to 300 and print reliably. I don't need 500. 500 is great. If you could do 500, fantastic. But I don't know anyone's doing 500 successfully And if you guys do, definitely tell me, because I mean, typically when I start doing ludicrous mode and things like that, it doesn't come out so well. But if I could get good prints at 300 millimeters per second on a 500 by 500 by 500, I would be very, very happy. Right now, my Benchy seem to top off at around 100 millimeters per second. And you know, considering the size, I'm happy with that. And that still definitely is an improvement over older printers that were out there with this large dimension size. But I will definitely say it is a step in the right direction. I think it's great that they are using Clipper. The screen is great at 7 inches. It's a beautiful size screen. I am so happy that they have a profile for this printer in Orca Slicer. So it's, you know, I love Orca Slicer. I'm very used to Bamboo Studio. So going between Bamboo Studio and Orca Slicer, it seems, it's just very comfortable. If you're a Prusa Slicer fan, again, same idea. You're going to feel very comfortable in these environments, because I think like they've all been forked. I know that sounds dirty, but they've all been forked off of each other in some order. I think it was like Prusa, Bamboo, then Orca, something like that. Anyway, but like I said, very happy with it. Now, the question is, who's it for? I don't think that this is going to really belong in a school. Real estate in classrooms is precious for teachers, and I'm going to tell you, this is just a monster, and it just takes up so much space. So I just don't see it being a printer that schools are going to want to, you know, get. But here's what I would say. There's always exceptions. I'm certainly one of them, and I know that one of my classes that I teach, we do large size robots. So this is kind of cool. I mean, we were chopping it up, but I would love to do one in a solid print. A couple things I would say, I'm definitely following up on this whole accelerometer thing. There was nothing in the instructions further about utilizing this. And if this is input shaping, it's definitely a must that I got to figure this out and integrate it. I also need to figure out this mesh, the bed mesh issue. Apparently this is way higher than the rest of it. And I know it's supposed to take that into account, but when I see something labeled in red, it's a problem. And when I saw that mesh map, I was like horrified at that like red mountain in the corner. So I don't know if you guys have tips on how to kind of adjust that. Is it basically just tightening the screws here and bringing it down lower? Does that kind of pinch it down further? I don't know. I would love to hear from you before I start like experimenting. So if any of you have experience with this, definitely let me know and put it in the comments. Back to what I was saying as to who it's for. Schools is not one of them in my opinion, but I do believe makers are gonna love this, especially if you're into cosplay, or you're part of the astromech community, or you build large scale droids. You're gonna love this printer, because it gives you that ability to take files like Mr. Badley's files and print things in one shot without slicing and cutting them up. So I think that's really cool. And so people who want to build like Iron Man chest armor in one shot, or boots or shoulder pieces, I mean, you could really get everything on here and you don't have to chop it up. And I think that's really, really cool. And yes, like even if it is only going to top off at 100 millimeters per second, you know, the fact that you don't have to like weld them together and connect them together, yeah, it might take a little bit longer to print, but if you could get something done in one piece and it does come out in good quality, that's a win in my book. So overall, very happy with it, very surprised about how easy it was to assemble. And the only other thing I would make a comment about is the instructions. I mean, maybe they've improved them since I got this. I mean, I did order this and it's been sitting around for months till I got it finally around to unboxing it. So maybe they've improved it, but the instructions definitely need to include what to do with this accelerometer, you know, how do you execute this and utilize it, and also some of the instructions. Like I said, the bags didn't match the steps, and I just thought that was silly. So, you know, small things like that. But overall, very happy with it. I also want to thank Jayo that sent me some of that cool silk PLA plus rainbow color filament. equipment. It worked great. I'm definitely gonna do a couple of more projects. They didn't sponsor the video. They just sent me some cool filament that they had, and I said I'd be happy to try it out and use it. And I was very happy using it, and I'm excited to do a few other projects with it in the future. Anyway, I just want to thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.